Alrighty, hello everyone. Happy Friday. Hope you all are doing well. I feel like my chair's not in a good... Is it too low? Yes, it is much too low. There we go. I think I've got it figured out. Hello everybody. Happy Friday. Hope you all are doing well. Why does it say I'm not connected? That's not supposed to say that. No, I don't want to make it a members only stream. Where is what I'm looking for? There we go. I got it. All right. Let me get the chat connected here. I don't know why they decided to stop making it so the chat would just automatically sync, but hey, there you go. Right. And ta-da, there we go. All right, welcome everybody. If you're new here, hi, my name's Evie Lupine, and here on this channel every Friday we do a little interactive Q&A live stream where you all come and ask questions and I answer them, and the community answers them, and it's a good, fun, mostly not stressful time. And that is what we do. I usually put a couple of options in the title as a suggestion, and because I literally just put out a video today about core/kernel kinks, I thought we could talk more about that. I also just took a super interesting quiz on BDSM archetypes, and that's going to be a video probably in the next week and a half. Y'all will be seeing that, so I don't want to necessarily get into the quiz too much, but it did remind me of a general conversation about archetypes and kind of just figuring out how to discover who you are in kink and your sense of identity and how to be read the right way by other people in the community. I thought we could talk about that, but we don't have to. It's really whatever y'all want to talk about in the realms of kink, BDSM, pop culture things, polyamory, dating, relationships, all of that good stuff. Just be respectful, listen to the mods, listen to me, don't spam the chat, and we'll have a good time. The way this works is you all put in your questions. I really recommend asking early. You can also use a very convenient little new feature, which is a built-in Q&A in the YouTube chat. If you go to that, put in your question, it'll basically put it in a special highlighted spot, so I will definitely know that it's a question. But otherwise, I go in order just to be fair to people, or you can use a super chat or streamlabs, and that will highlight your question on screen. It'll read it out loud, and then I will get to it right away. Otherwise, I can't promise that I'm gonna get to it or see it. That's the best way. It's like the express lane of things. We also have YouTube memberships. You don't have to be a member. The only reason we have memberships is so you can use cool emotes in the chat if you want to. They're very cute. They're of me and my dog, and she's adorable. As you can tell, she's so cute. We went outside today. It was warm, well, sort of. It was 54 degrees outside, but it wasn't raining, and that made a big difference. So we went outside today. It was very cute. It was very wholesome. We had a nice time, and now we are here and chatting with all of you. So yeah, hopefully y'all are doing well. What's up? What have people been doing? I know that we have a story from Sean, and I did get that message with the story. So we will, at some point in a minute here, we'll get into the updates from Sean and give you all a little inside scoop of what it's like going to BDSM parties and events, but I want to make sure that I'm keeping track of what people are doing before we get into that. Say hello to Bandit for me. Puppy play might be a core kink with me. Oh yeah. Actually, that was one thing with the yes, and thank you, Sean. Thank you for the stream gifts. I did see the email. I was curious what you think about the BDSM archetype quiz. Well, there's no pet play on it, and so because of that, it can't get a maximum score. I would love to know from the person who made the quiz, because pet play is so popular that to not include it, especially because it is in the BDSM test already, to not include it has to be an intentional choice in my view. So I'm curious about why they would choose not to include it. Maybe it's more of a subset of a combination of different archetypes, or maybe it's more under nurturing stuff. But then, like, how do you differentiate between, you know, CGL and pet play, or primal play and pet play, if there's not anything specifically pet related on the quiz, in my opinion. But, you know, I don't know what the logic is, but I would love to find it out someday. Thank you so much for the memberships, Sean. That's very generous. Thank you. And welcome to our new members. You'll get a cute little Pomeranian icon next to your name. Oh my gosh. Okay. Who saw the new... I have not played a mainline Pokemon game since Sword and Shield came out on the first Switch. And that was that even during the pandemic? That was like when did Sword and Shield come out? It was like 2019, I think. Yeah, it was 2019, November 2019. I actually remember sitting on the couch and playing it. First of all, that has one of the best Pokemon of all time, Wooloo. I love Wooloo. I am a day one Wooloo supporter. I love Wooloo. But something has come along to dethrone Wooloo as the best Pokemon. And there is a starter Pokemon that is a Pomeranian, and I have never been more excited / scared in my life. I am amazed. I am shocked. I don't know. I would always hope, but I would never dare to believe it's real. But they have made a Pomeranian Pokemon, and I am just crossing all of my fingers and praying and using all of my willpower to send into the universe. Please let this dog stay a cute, fluffy quadruped dog. Do not make it become another fucking wrestler or something like all the other fire starters. I don't want it to be a soccer player. I don't want it to be a wrestler. I don't want it to be a giant bipedal chicken. I just make it bigger. Take the cute little fluffy thing and then just double its size for every evolution, and then you're perfect. You're golden. Don't do anything else. I just need it to be bigger and fluffier, and that's it. And I think the furries will still like it regardless, and I'm just stoked. I'm very happy. I might actually have to get the Switch 2 to play this game, depending on how the evolution turns out. But it's not coming out for another calendar year, so there is plenty of time between now and then. The creator of the archetype has some, quote, unique opinions based on their other writings. I have not looked into that at all. I saw that they were following me on Twitter. I did not look into their Substack or other writing. Based on what I saw from the quiz, I didn't get any... There weren't any red flags that came up in the quiz itself, but that doesn't mean that there's not any, or that they don't say things, you know, that I would disagree with. But also, like, I find sometimes with pro-doms, especially if they're coming from, like, a pro-dom or, like, maybe more insular part of the femdom, FLR, findom side of the kink spectrum, that tends to create a certain mentality that, in my opinion, is a different way of interacting with kink than the more mainstream pansexual BDSM community, just, you know, because, you know, there's a different way of doing some kinks, different things are more popular, different influencers, just different people generally. So I'm not sure what to think about that, but yeah, I'm excited about I don't want there to be an Anther Pomeranian. If they make it like a giant Chow Chow, or my dream is to have it be a really cute, fluffy Cerberus. If it turns out to be a ginormous, fluffy, adorable Cerberus type Pokemon, that's peak Pokemon design. There will never be a better Pokemon than that. That would be, if I could make any Pokemon, if I could wave a wand and become Czar of Game Freak for this game, I would have one directive, and it would be scrap the designs you already have. Let me see it first, because maybe it's better, but I doubt it. Make it a giant, fluffy Cerberus, because that would be peak design. And then I don't care, they can do anything else, just only that. I will be a helicopter CEO for only that. And maybe, I don't know, maybe some game world stuff that, you know, like making sure people can customize their avatars or something maybe would be the other thing. But I'm excited about it. There's one called Frou Frou that's pretty cute. Oh, what was the thing in the article that you saw? Is this kink quiz anything like the back in the day purity test? I don't know what the back in the day purity test is. What is that? Is that like give yourself so many? Is it the thing where you like give yourself points based on what you've done? Like if you've ever like had anal sex, give yourself 5 points. Like is it that kind of thing, or is that something else? Not sure what you mean by that. I still need it to be transcoded, like Sylveon, Primarina, or Galarian Rapidash. I honestly think the water type is probably going to be the one that's like either drag queen or transcoded. It's like, first of all, the only one that looks like it has functional brain cells. And it also looks like it's going to be sassy and fabulous. So I think they might, I don't know. They, for some reason, like to make their water type starters like ballerinas and dancers and shit for some reason. I don't know why. But also if it ends up being a fairy type, which I don't know if it's confirmed or not that it's like going to be a fire fairy, or if it's just going to be fairy type or just fire type by its final evolution. But I don't even know how you would translate that. I don't know. But also trans puppy girl, so maybe. Maybe. I don't know if he's getting does Game Freak know about trans puppy girls? That'd be crazy. They're like, the marketing team is like, all right, you know how we've been marketing to furries for the last like 3 games? They're like, yeah. Well, there's a whole new thing going on. It's called trans puppy girls. That would be nuts. But Galarian, Rapidash, and Alolan Ninetales, those are peak character designs. That's like, they nailed it on those two. Oh my gosh. Fairy type, I feel like, has consistently the best design. I feel like a lot of other types, they have Pokemon that I don't personally find appealing at all, and I think are not peak Pokemon design, but fairy type just like, it just hits. It's so perfect. It's Japan, they invented the puppy girl. Oh no, did they? I haven't come across that in my research, but maybe I'm just not looking in the right places. I believe it. Yeah, a lot of people have made references to the Dog Guard in Undertale, or Missile from Ghost Trick. I've seen quite a bit as well. I'm sure a lot of people are going to nickname that Pokemon Missile, for sure. I don't know why 5 points. I don't know. I know this is the Rice University purity test. That's like, yeah. I think it's meant for, I think, like incoming freshmen or something, or I don't know. It was not part of my university experience, so I don't know the full context. What about trans wolf girls? I mean, that's a subcategory, I would say. It's a subcategory. It's in there. It's up there. Shoot, most wolves I know are non-binary, so I don't know why that. I feel like most foxes and wolves I know are NB. Can't tell you why. That's just my observation. Not sure if that's actually real or just the people I socialize with. All right, I'm trying to go back to the chat here. There we go. Too many tabs. Okay. Swearing off penetrative sex across the board last year, right? Oh, I saw the title for that, and I did not click on it yet. It was like a picture of some famous painting, and then it was like something about like the Pussy Manifesto and like why I'm swearing off sex and you should too. I guess my read on that was like maybe it was like a chastity play thing. I didn't read the article obviously, but just like briefly scrolling through it, like going to leave a comment about what I thought about the test. I was like, oh, that's interesting, and like I sort of figured it was a chastity enthusiast position. And I'm not enough in these circles to know for sure, but I definitely get the impression that there are femdoms who, because the people they have relationships with are submissive men, and they typically have a lot of like chastity and CBT, or like maybe pegging focused type relationships, they're not the ones getting penetrated, and they don't even like that kind of sex. So for them, swearing it off is just like a thing. Although I don't know if they're approaching that from like, you'll be more in your feminine, powerful energy if you don't get penetrated, I'm gonna be like, all right, let's not get drastic here. What you do or do not receive and or give during sex does not have any bearing on how dominant you are. And that's not a better opinion just because it's coming from a femdom rather than a male dom, okay? Like, let's just let anybody do what they want and what feels great. Wouldn't puppy girls be a subset of wolf girls since dogs descend from wolves? You know, maybe in like a genetic, what's the philo something? I forget what the word is. God, just take away my degree. I've forgotten all the terms. Just phylogenetically maybe, but in terms of pet play lineage, it's, if you're thinking about like what forms of pet play got started first and which ones are offshoots of which forms of pet play, puppy play definitely been around longer and stronger than wolf play has been. That's a more, I wouldn't call it a recent invention, but recently been popular. Oh, thanks. I'm glad you like my face without makeup. She talks about this like a cultist, like red pillars. Oh no. Oh, I don't like it when I feel like, especially if somebody who is a femdom and they use the internet for hawking their services, which is totally fine and valid. Don't get me wrong. Totally fine. Get it. Be on that grind. I understand. But there's something specifically about femdoms where they do kind of cross the line between educational content and like fantasy fulfillment for potential purchasers or clients, and that creates a lot of unsavory absolutist statements about like all brats are bad submissives, or no woman should ever have sex with a man, or all women are better dominants than all men. And it's like, you can't be, if you've just said anything that starts with always this or never that, there will always be an exception, and it's just not helpful for, like, that's not, I don't know, I don't like that. It's not a unique or interesting position, IMO. Happy Friday night from the great state of Oregon. Well, happy Friday night back to you, also from the great state of Oregon. I'm gonna try to write a book, and I think I'm gonna title it "What Not to Do." You know what? Go for it. Self-publishing. Fuck it. Write whatever you want. Actually, I'm working on a video right now about like censorship in the UK and queerphobia and stuff, and it's like not a fun topic, but it needs to be said because people need to be aware. And just write your books, man. Write the books you want to write. Publish the smut you want to publish. If you think you're a bad writer, who gives a fuck? Write it. Like, be the smut you want to see in the world. Be the kink education you want to see in the world. If you would like to, I don't know, have some kind of DDLG / fiction, well, probably if it's DOG, probably would be / fiction. CGL / fiction, whatever thing. Write it. Make it be a thing. Like, you just do it, you know? Because who knows? We might not have a free open internet for very much longer, so do the weird shit while you still can online. I'm actually trying to write a fiction story right now where the main theme is the sexual freedom of consenting adults. It's a portal fiction, but each world has a hidden sexual theme. If you haven't read Kushiel's Dart, I feel like that's, I don't know if you'd be doing like anything that has more, I don't know if you mean like portal fiction in more of a fantasy way, or more of a science fiction way, or maybe even a science fantasy way, which is my favorite, but I would look at Kushiel's Dart if you haven't read that before. It's definitely older, and it bears the marks of being from that time period in regards to consent, but especially for a fantasy series of that time period, it handles consent very well, and the author very intentionally tried to make a religious world system in which consent and being able to revoke consent was a really important part of adult interactions. And let's be honest, adult science fiction and fantasy novels, not normally great at consent. So that was nice to see, but yeah. Listen, I like doing lots of kinds of makeup. I just like fucking around and finding out with my makeup, honestly. Looks like the tide might be shifting and y'all can get queer Harmer the Tear Farmer out of here. Just realized that was like a full title. Yeah, I'd like that, but also the problem is that it's not just in America, right? It's also in the UK for some reason, and also in Australia. I don't know why Australia is like so pro censorship, especially for sex things. I'm like, don't Australians like have a lot of casual sex? That's like one of the factoids I know about Australia, is that they have a pretty high per capita amount of I totally lost my train of thought. Of casual sex and higher number of sexual partners. My stream keeps freezing, not my internet, restarting laptop. Oh no. I haven't seen any stream health things on my end, but let me double check. Looks like my stream is good. I did see something before I went live when I started the preview where it said that there was a chat disconnection, which I've never seen before. So I don't know why that happened. But, you know, I don't know. YouTube also went completely down for like 6 hours last week. So, you know, who knows what they're doing over there. Nothing good, I'll tell you that much. Talking about Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of the UK. Oh, yeah, I was punning twice on his name. That makes a lot more sense. Yeah, Keir Starmer can go pound sand. He's a real piece of work. Not a fan, personally. I have opinions about UK politics I will mostly keep to myself. The current state of the UK almost pushes me to use American spelling. Damn, that's how you know it's bad. That's how you know it's bad. Anyways, let me get into some questions and things before I continue to doom spiral about the state of the world. Into psychological bondage at 52. I notice how younger women are letting down their guard and being nice to me, calling me sir, and not rushing to discard me. Well, the dating market is pretty fucking bad right now. I will say that much. And it's good that you're getting a chance. And I don't even know. I can't imagine what it's like to be 20 and trying to date right now. It sounds like an absolute nightmare. We also got a super chat here from Lady Abstracted. Thank you so much. So greatly grateful for you and the content you create. Your core kink video was so timely for me. Was wondering, what do the core kink / emotional qualities underlie the dominant side of power exchange? So I didn't say this clearly in the video, but it's worth saying here. I don't generally think that there's a huge distinction between core kinks for switches or tops or bottoms or subs or doms. I think that they generally go back to a lot of the same places, but maybe on like opposite sides. So I think the example I gave in the video was for an S-type, like maybe they have a core kink of loss of control, and then the dominant flip side of that would be maybe something like being able to take total control, or being able to manipulate someone, like being manipulative, or being what's another word? Not manipulative, but like forceful, maybe something along those lines. So they're related, or even could be like having my partner lose total control, like being able to evoke that state in someone else, like being able to break someone down and turn their brain off completely, quote unquote. Although I have, there is something I've been meaning to look into. There's something I've been meaning to look into that I saw from, I think it was about like the female orgasm, quote unquote, is the term that they used, about how the state that people refer to during female orgasm is not actually the brain turning off, which is what I had heard when I was doing psychology as an undergrad. Like, I remember taking a sex psychology course and them saying that, like, the difference between male and female orgasm is that when a man has an orgasm, the arousal centers in his brain light up, air quotes, talking about brain scan stuff, which is already dubious. And then for women, when they have an orgasm, their brain shuts down. That was the rhetoric. But I'm seeing things that say that orgasm's better understood as something called synchronous firing, which I'm not sure what that is yet. I want to look into it further, but I think that could explain some kink things. But anyways, I bring that up to say sometimes when we use language in kink, it does not necessarily reflect exactly what's going on internally or psychologically, but the idea is I want to have someone lose control. I want to have their brain turn off. I want to, like, crawl around their head for a little bit. But as far as the emotional qualities go for a lot of dominant people, I would say the common themes that you'll probably see revolve around things like power or mastery, not in the sense of like a capital M master, but like being really good at what you do and having a very high level of competence and having confidence as a result of that. Being like tougher than their partner, being stronger than their partner. Like, again, that sense of power, that sense of respect, a sense of superiority, as being in a leadership position, worthy of being a leader, like somewhere in that ballpark, and things that are offshoots of that emotionally, either in terms of evoking states in their partner or like how they feel during scenes, I would say. But outside of that, like, there's so many different variations, it's hard to pin some of them down. Like, I would say there's dominants that are really into the psychological side, where they're more into like fear play or surprise play, which is actually a subject I'm meaning to revisit in videos, and I think I'm going to do that soon, where you can see that the motivation is like having the ability to put their partner in an emotionally uneasy state and, being able to feed off of that emotional energy. You have other people that are more into the physical side and causing physical pain. Other people where it's not about like suffering emotionally at all, but just simply having control. And again, myriad offshoots from that in a bunch of different directions. Synchronous firing sounds like a seizure. Thanks for the thoughtful response. I'm pretty sure it's not that. I looked it up really briefly just when I came across the term originally, just to, keep it in my brain for later. But if I find out more about it and can apply it to kink, I am sure you all will hear it in a live stream or video at some point. Female orgasm, man, I haven't heard that term in years. I mean, yeah, I'm just telling you what they said in the post and in my psychology class. That's just the terminology they used and how they divided it up. I actually don't know what they do in like modern literature, like sex research, how they refer to it. I'm not reading those journals all the time, so I don't know. But they are normally pretty out of date terminology-wise, so I wouldn't be shocked if they were still referring to it that way, like, God, 10 years later at this point, so, who knows. Men's orgasms activate their brains while female orgasms shut down their brains. Psych is amazing. It really is. It's a very robust and not at all a bizarre fucking field, especially sex psychology. But listen, we're not talking about Evo Psych, where I'm not kidding you. I'm remembering, this is in my brain. The Evo Psych explanation for why that happens is fucking stunning. Okay, you ready for this? The explanation for why that happens is in the savannah. I'm not kidding you. This is the explanation from Evo Psych. Is when you're in the savannah, the man has to stay aware of like threats and predators and other rival males entering the space, and so it is evolutionarily advantageous for them to have further psychological arousal during orgasm, so that way they are prepared to defend against any threats that would prevent them from having a successful copulation. Whereas women are just lying on the ground, and so they can take their brain off or have their brain shut off, and it doesn't matter because they don't have to be aware of danger. And having a more pronounced orgasmic response makes it a better reward cycle and makes them want to engage in it more. And that offsets the horrible physical nature of gestation and childbirth. That's the EvoPsych explanation for why that happens, is man on the savannah has to watch for lions. Is EvoPsych even real? Like, is this, how can this be a real field? Truly, I don't know. In the environment of evolutionary adaptiveness, pretty much, yeah. You know, the girlies time to look up for lions. Yeah, it's also like there's like a level of sexism embedded in that. Like, oh, women, they never do anything during sex. Like, you telling me cavemen were doing it ever girl on top style? Cavemen were doing missionary only in the dirt. No one was having sex standing up. No one was having sex against a tree. No one was doing girl on top. It was only man on top, woman on bottom, just like this, as God intended for caveman to do. Truly ridiculous. I'm sorry about damaged all of your brain cells. And here I am thinking it's nice because my joint pain disappears. I know, right? It's you don't even need an EvoPsych explanation. You can just be like, yeah, actually this is awesome because it helps my chronic pain. And also without shelter, yeah. Yeah, you're just doing it in the wild, no shelter. Also, you're not like in a group or a tribe. You don't have other humans around you to help like protect you or keep watch. It's almost like, I thought humans evolved to be communal creatures, and I guess we didn't do that sexually. I guess all human beings wander off into the woods as a duo and face a lot more objective risk from predators and from general unfriendly forms of life. And they have sex in intentionally higher risk environments as opposed to safer environments with other people around. And now I'm thinking there's probably an EvoPsych explanation for exhibitionism and voyeurism that goes back to like back in the day when cavemen lived in little caveman groups. It was evolutionarily advantageous for cavemen to get their rocks off watching other cavemen do their business. You can come up with a logic for anything, just being like, cavemen probably did this shit. Because cavemen aren't going to be like, actually, we didn't. Like, no one's... You can't go back and ask them. Can't do anything. Only God-fearing Christian cavemen. Yeah. No, everyone knows the cavemen were 1950s nuclear families, as shown in the documentary series The Flintstones. Wait, shit. That's true. I forgot about the Flintstones documentary. Yeah, actually. Yeah, and they all had cars, and they all worked on dinosaurs in the rock quarry, and they had all the wives had ovens. You got it. Yeah, thanks for reminding me. I forgot about that. It's a really good documentary. Everyone should watch it. Ooh, chicken nuggets, air fry, and steamed sweet corn. That's a good combination. I'm gonna make fried rice after stream for dinner, and I'm excited about it. I made a really good, like, vegan mushroom, just egg, like, I don't even know what to call it, like a Japanese, like, rice bowl dish, and so I have leftover rice intentionally to try to make vegan fried rice again. I'm like kind of determined to figure out how to make good vegan fried rice. It's like kind of my current culinary mission in life. I heard one of my partners was like, I really miss being able to eat fried rice, and I was like, bet. I'm gonna figure it out. and there was a bunch of Just Egg on clearance at the grocery store, and I bought literally all of it because it was $3 a carton. It was cheaper than anything. Ever since you discussed people being weird about Alyssa Liu, I've been seeing screenshots of that weirdness on Reddit and Blue Sky. I blame you for this. Postdoc ergopropteroc. I'm sorry. I see a lot of it. So if you guys don't know, there's a lovely ice skater who did a really good job in the Olympics from Team USA. She's from Oakland. Hell yeah, we love Oakland. We love the East Bay. And her name is Alyssa Liu, and she has raccoon hair, and she gave herself a smiley piercing, and she had lava cake every day for fucking breakfast in the Olympic Village, and we stand an alternative queen. For some reason, the far right has waffled about how hot she is. Some people declaring her a 5 out of 10 and saying, like, every conservative man needs a 5 out of 10 that they can fix. Other people declaring that she's super hot and that she's definitely not liberal, even though she is definitely the fucking liberal. Like, she was part of anti-Israel protest on campus. So, like, I don't think that's a very conservative position, generally speaking. I guess unless you're Nick Fuentes, but we're not going to get into that. And just a lot of weirdness. And I think, and somebody else already said this before me, so I didn't make a tweet about this, but I think in order to understand why they're so obsessed with Alyssa Liu, you need to understand the general context of the right on the internet for the last 15 years. And that is that they are always psychosexually obsessed with feminist-looking women. If you are a woman and you have, right, it's the stereotype of the blue-haired or the red-haired, the danger hair woman with the piercings and the unconventional dress and whatever. They are so fucking turned on by that it makes their brains melt. They go, wooga, blue hair girl, oh my god, whoa. They don't know what to do. And they contextualize that attraction as being okay in their worldview by doing one of two things. They will either decide that the woman is actually already secretly a conservative and is on their team, so being attracted to her is okay. Or two, they fantasize about transforming her into something that they're attracted to. So they will look at somebody who's alternative and go like, I'm going to turn her into my little PTA mom, and she's going to be blonde, and she's going to wear the sweaters, and she's going to do this, and she's going to do that. And that's not even just a conservative men thing. And I don't like, especially on camera, like I don't even dress like super alternative, like a lot of the time. Like I have my black hair, I have my piercings, I got my tattoos, you know, all right. But like I generally am like pretty low key with my outfits a lot of the time. Because otherwise I would constantly be covered in dog hair and my nice clothes, and I don't want to have to deal with that. But even then, I have unfortunately experienced dating people, or even just being around men, who their kink is to look at somebody who is alternative or dresses different and then go, well, what if you just changed that for me? What if you just like became blonde or became a redhead or wore blue contacts or wore different kinds of clothing or talked a different way or did so on and so on and so on. And not in a consensual, nice kink way of, let's do some fun role play. Wouldn't it be silly if we did like a subversive scene where you dressed up like the perfect blonde 1950s housewife, and then I dress up like the working husband, and we do kind of like a fucked up role play thing. That would be fun. But no, I'm talking like real life, like I want to introduce you to my parents. Can you make sure the tattoos are covered up and the piercings are out? Because otherwise they're not going to like you. Like that kind of stuff where it's like, if you wanted someone who could be more socially acceptable at the fucking country club, just date the girl who's already going to the country club. But no, they like fantasizing about forcing a woman to become something she's not because they want to have unearned, non-consensual power over a woman in order to humiliate her and depersonalize her and show her that she's not an individual and is actually inherently submissive towards them because of her gender and or sex, which is disgusting and gross. But that's how they think about it, is like, you're a woman, therefore you belong under my domain, and as a man, I have the right to tell you to change something about yourself. But heaven fucking forbid you ever tell these men anything about their goddamn personal appearance. I don't want to hear it. You tell a man that suit looks bad on you, you need to go up a size, you need to stop fucking styling your hair that way, stop wearing a goddamn beanie, Tim Pool. If you do anything like that, they're like, how dare you? No, the beanie is where all my power comes from. I could not possibly not wear the beanie. They want to permanently dress like they're in high school for the rest of their goddamn lives, but then they want to tell women, like, how to fucking dress. Like, get over yourself. Stop. Just stop. One of the most important things I've ever been told was, I love you for who you really are, not who I wish you could be. More people need to hear that. Yeah, I mean, maybe at some point, it's not like a high priority for a video topic, but I would really like to eventually talk about, like, being able to tell a good long-term relationship from a bad long-term relationship. And I do think one of the key things to look for is, how do they talk about you and your appearance? And oh my god, I think I have a dog hair literally in my freaking eyeball, or like on my eyelash. Okay, I think I got it. Cool. Like, and one of the things is being able to tell how they feel about you. And there's a huge difference between people who are like, I want to support you being more like yourself, whatever that looks like. I like seeing you confident in yourself and dressing in a way that you think looks nice on yourself and is more in alignment with your vision of who you want to be, versus like, well, I just thought you'd look nice this way. I just think you'd look nice if you dressed more like this. It's like, you're allowed to have input. Like, you know, like, if you're somebody who's like, I like schoolgirl skirts, I like sundresses, I like yoga pants, like, you can say that. You can be like, hey, I like this. But if you're suddenly like, I think you should only wear skirts because I like skirts, throw away all your jeans because fuck that. Like, unless you're in a dynamic where you've negotiated for that level of aesthetic control to be okay, like, it comes off as like you don't really like the person you're dating. You're trying to mold them into being what you like, which doesn't usually make people feel great. No, you've not missed the core kink convo. That will come and go as people ask questions about it. And also, I'll remind people, if you want to make sure I answer your question, please use the Q&A feature up there, or you can put your question in the chat. I will definitely see it if you put it in the Q&A. But if you would like to have other people contribute to an answer or get people's feedback in general, then you can put it in the regular chat. I can't promise I'm going to see it, but you can put it there. The Q&A box is really just like the fast pass lane. Back before that started to suck and or doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, it's the Build Your Dynamic Archetype test is the one I was talking about, yeah. I really hope it's not an Anthropomeranian. That would make me scared. Substack is a yellow flag. Actually, I've never thought about that before, but I can't say I have anyone who's well, I don't know. No, they got banned. All of my favorite people that were on Substack have been banned from Substack. So the only people I know that have Substacks anymore make questionable content. So, and yeah, having a Substack is a yellow flag. It's like the new era of like being a cishet white guy with a podcast. It's like, ooh, did you need to make a podcast? Or do you have that many thoughts? I don't know. EvoPsych is an invention of big podcasts to keep the two bros fed. Yeah. I don't, if we did not have the Joe Rogan experience, I do not think that EvoPsych would be as prevalent as it currently is. I think that's a pretty solid theory. IMO giving specific compliments when you see what you like is usually pretty good. Yeah, like if you want to see like positive reinforcement, that is dom sub, bottom top, romantic relationship, whatever flavor thing you're going on in a relationship with a human being, whatever shape that takes. The number one thing you can do to get more of what you like outside of directly asking for it is positive reinforcement. So giving compliments, giving praise, like giving people little rewards of things that they like to encourage them to do something more, as opposed to just complaining when you don't like something or asking somebody to do something different. You're going to get more of it. So if you like it when your partner wears the sexy little booty shorts, you like go, awooga, big eyes, oh my god, so hot, so sexy, so amazing, I fucking love those shorts, your ass looks amazing, like, so hot, wow, 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 amazing, fantastic, good. Now, obviously, if you don't think that they're that hot, don't do all of that. But if you want to see more booty shorts, or whatever thing you're into, gotta make it clear that you like it, and use praise as a positive reinforcement to get more of that thing happening. It's an underrated skill. It's an underrated skill. I'm glad you have evolved from watching JRE. I think I understand why people would be into it. Like, if they're used to, like, normie content or they like comedians or interview stuff, I could see why people would get into it. But Joe Rogan himself, I do not understand, unfortunately. What's the collective noun for a group of cis-het white men? A podcast. I'm for putting that in the dictionary. I thought it was a militia. Maybe it's a regional thing. You know what? It's probably regional. Probably a regional term difference there. If I had to guess. Oh, thank you so much. We have a super chat from Carol. Sean is here. I will never object to that content. Oh yeah, for sure. I am gonna try to get a little bit more ahead in the chat. I thought maybe at like 7 o'clock we do the Sean story. Trying to do a little different today. Maybe do it in like the middle of the stream as sort of like a content break, but I don't know. That was the thought that I had. But, good question. Alrighty. I'm getting to the point where we're talking about wolf girls. I'm trying to make sure I'm going through more of the chat because I realized the last couple of streams, when I go over to the questions tab in the stream chat, for some reason, I lose where I'm at in the chat and then I lose the previous messages. And I want to make sure that I'm like keeping up with what people are talking about. Chastity, but as a Greek royalty, like reserve dom is an untapped market, I think. I think that some people could be into that. I think you gotta find a niche, and that could be a niche. That could be a niche. I thought for the longest time that cishet was pronounced like cis-shay. That, like hashay? Like hashay, kind of? Was anyone else hype about the new Stardew Valley announcement? I'm happy about it. My sister was all mad about it and told me I was a loser for being excited about it. The only thing I remember seeing about it is people were mad because Clint is an incel and you can now marry Clint. But I don't know why that's making people mad. But I also haven't played Stardew Valley in probably like 5 years. So I barely remember Clint as a character and not enough to be mad or happy about the announcement. That sounds like it's probably for the best. Also, nothing can possibly top there being an adorable Pomeranian character in a Pokemon game. Because that means I'm going to be able to buy merch. I'm going to be able... It's very hard to find Wooloo merch. Nobody makes Wooloo merch. Maybe I can find a Wooloo hat. Actually, I would really like a Wooloo hat. That would be adorable. Please, I would like to find a Wooloo hat. But now I can buy Pombon. Also, the name for the Pokemon is Pombom. Pombon. Like Bonbon and Pomeranian put together. Like, holy fuck. That's S tier. I literally am moved to tears by that Pokemon. That's how adorable it is. Yeah, Australia was really weird with internet censorship. They were definitely an early adopter of that for some fucking reason. I don't know why. Cyber Nanny Island. I hope not. I hope not. Yeah, the thing I'm working on is about the quote-unquote incest porn ban that's happening in the UK. Because obviously, while it's intentioned, I think the label of it is, oh, we want to ban this porn category that's abusive. First of all, you can still get married to your first cousin. So what are we doing about that, UK? That seems more impactful. But also, it affects fantasy content where people are using... Remember, like, how Etsy got really up in arms about using familial terms in adult apparel? So using terms like mommy or daddy or little girl on, you know, adult-related stuff. So, like, collars and adult onesies and pacifiers and, like, all that kind of thing. And I don't know if that actually meant... I haven't checked to see if things have really been removed from the website as a result of that. I know it has impacted people that were using Etsy to sell things. But it's in that same vein of it's not just what's on the label, which is like, okay, that should already be illegal, because if it's if it's a recording of somebody doing a crime, that's already illegal because doing incest is illegal just already. So did you need to make a second law? But it ends up attacking terminology that people use in other contexts using familial labels, and that ends up affecting things like CGL, DDLG, mommy dom stuff, anything in that wheelhouse. And I think I haven't really seen people cover that angle in the discussions around this before. It's mostly been what I think is a valid slippery slope argument around concerns that this is going to lead to further restrictions on other content if this ends up being successful, where you end up seeing bans on, like, bestiality, for example. Well, that, again, is a crime if it's being recorded and distributed. That's already a crime for something that is already illegal. And it ends up affecting people doing stuff like maybe furry stuff, maybe Therians, and almost certainly, you know, BDSM pet play related stuff, where it's literally human adults cosplaying and role-playing things, sometimes even non-sexually, probably mostly non-sexually, and then getting caught in the crosshairs of trying to, again, ban something that is already illegal. So it doesn't really seem like it's a law problem so much as it is an enforcement problem. And again, you already have first cousin marriages. Maybe address that first? That seems like a more important law to reevaluate on that front. The damage the British upper class has already done, there's no fixing it now in the UK. I mean, it is turf island, so it's already pretty worse for wear on that front. The first cousin thing is fascinating to me. There's such a divide between people who think, yeah, that's incest, and people who are like weird but not incest, and I've rarely seen in between. Yeah, I mean, I'm not... To me it is, and maybe that's a cultural thing because I'm raised in America, and it's not that separate. Like, that's somebody, if you meet them routinely at a family reunion or for a major holiday like Christmas or Thanksgiving, that's too close. That's too close. No. Also, obviously, that's a close enough relation to where it causes birth defect issues that you would expect from having too closely related genetics. And I don't know about countries where there's a relatively small base founder population. Like, if we're talking about, like, Iceland, like, I don't know, like, maybe everyone's too closely related and everyone's, like, at least your second cousin. Like, I think second cousins are, like, that's could be arguable. But first cousins, like, literally the children of your aunt and uncles, that's too close. No. And I think the only reason it's not illegal is probably because of the monarchy and the upper class. Because they fucking love marrying cousins. That's their whole thing, is marrying cousins. That's all they do, is marry cousins. Like, wasn't like Queen Elizabeth and her husband, weren't they cousins? I'm pretty sure they were cousins. I mean, they're all kind of, you end up intermarrying so much that kind of everyone's your cousin at some point. But yeah, it just seems fucking weird. I also don't really have any cousins. So I have, like, I didn't know I had any cousins. And then when I was an adult, I discovered that I have, I think, 3 first cousins. Yeah, I think I have like 3. I have some second cousins, but I have like a couple of first cousins, and then none I knew about as a kid, and they're all like way older than me, so it's not. I don't really relate to them as cousins, anyways. I think adoption. I don't know what the legality is around adoption. I don't know if that affects anything in the UK. I think that's also generally, you know, like I don't want Woody Allen type situations. I don't want. You don't know, Woody Allen married his adopted daughter. Which is still happening, by the way. It's in the Epstein files. He's in the Epstein files. She's in the Epstein files. They're all over the Epstein files. I think that's probably bad. I think that you should not be allowed to do that. Actually, I heard a podcast episode that was really interesting the other day, and somebody called in and they asked about what they should do because they're in love with their adopted sister. But he got adopted into her family, like, when he was actually quite a bit older, like, when he was a teenager. And he already had a crush on her when he got adopted. And now it's just, like, over the years become, like, intolerable. And he's like, do I potentially break up my family by revealing this? Like, my take on that, personally, by the way, is to say something to her about it. Because... Not necessarily because I think you need to be honest about it. I think that's part of it. But I think because there's a certain power and allure that unspoken attraction has. Like, that is one of the cornerstones of infatuation and limerence, is having unrequited, unspoken affection. And actually, maybe by saying it out loud and being like, oh, so actually I've always had a crush on you. But, like, just saying it and letting it be out in the open, that might just remove the allure and take the edge off of this inappropriate feeling that you're dealing with. Don't know if that's what a therapist would recommend, but that's my thoughts about it. But yeah, people have complicated family relationships, I'll say that. Just don't have them watch Wuthering Heights. Oh my god. I have not. Oh, I have so many Wuthering Heights opinions. Don't even get me started, Amp. Don't even get me started. Also, Amp in the chat wants to say word in the chat. Give them a follow if you're not already. They're fantastic. Love your Polly review, by the way. It was great. Wuthering Heights was my final senior year project. I read Wuthering Heights and I did an essay about it, and I can't bring myself to watch the movie. I can't. I think there's supposed to be some kind of pet play thing in it. The costuming I just find viscerally offensive. I find the whole movie offensive. Just do a sexy Frankenstein. Just do a sexy Frankenstein a la Nosferatu. Have David Eggers make sexy Frankenstein. That's all I need. We liked it. Better consent than playing it. Really? I have to get over the historical inaccuracies, probably. But that is shocking, actually. Because everything I've heard about it was that it was bad. So that goes to show it's on my corner of the internet. But I was worried about it. But maybe I have to think about it not as a faithful adaptation of a book that has really interesting things to say about feminism and race in that era of English society, but as a sexy romp, and maybe just as a sexy romp, it's a good movie. But yeah, the book does enough. The book does enough. I'm shocked I was allowed to read that, and actually, it does make sense why it gets referenced in Twilight. So actually, it does loop back around to somehow being connected to 50 Shades of Grey. It's part of the historical lineage of Twilight in a really, and thus 50 Shades of Grey in a very bizarre direction. But I don't know. We're making a lot of horny movies, and I'm kind of happy about that. Honestly, let's make. As I said before, we gotta make the horny movies. Make the horny movies while you still can. Make the weird, dark, sexy movies before they become illegal. And then burn them all to DVD before they take away digital libraries. Yeah. That reminds me of Waiting for the Bride, kind of Bride of Frankenstein-esque. I haven't heard of that, but I'm not sure. I don't keep up with movies a lot. I have to sort of stumble upon them, so your mileage will vary on that one. But yeah, there's like no negotiation and like no explicit consent in Billion. So it's an artifact of, I think, the time that the book it's based on was written. So anyways, moving on here. Yeah, H-Play DDLG, that's gonna be, it's gonna be a conversation we have in future content. Can they just call it inspired by Wuthering Heights? I think that would probably be that would be my take. She is a princess and she is regal and she's very excited about Pompon being a thing. Yeah, I'm also doing without shelter. I saw Wuthering Heights filmatization. Is that a word? In high school and didn't understand it at all because I couldn't distinguish men's faces. Oh, that's gonna make that really hard if you can't do that. Look for who's blonde and who's brunette. That'll actually help you out a lot. Not that it helps you as advice now, but as a general rule of thumb. Of course, we base this cutting edge research on undergrad survey responses. I mean, all the best science is based on survey research, so. Brain scans and survey research. I am not sure why the last few posts did not go through. It might be an internet connection issue. Not sure. I collect older books about women's anatomy and dating. It's a very interesting peek into the past. Yeah, I've had some like Victorian erotica over the years that is actually fascinating because as a period piece, you're like, oh shit, they really thought about women's bodies differently, but not in the way that you'd expect. Like, they love underarm hair and pubic hair. They were all about that shit in 1870. Not so much these days, but things and preferences change. They are variable, as it turns out. It's not an innate preference, which actually, the next time I have an argument with a red pillar who's like, men are biologically wired to find like the youngest women possible attractive, and the reason why men like shaved underarms and bare pubic areas is because of like youth and fertility and blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, well, that's true. Why is it that before the age of the internet and mass media in 1845 they were all feverishly writing about how hot pubic hair is? If having a prepubescent body is the sign of peak fertility and attractiveness, which doesn't even make sense to begin with, why is it that 150 years ago, people were lusting over pubic hair? Explain it. Explain it now. Doesn't make any sense. I can only recognize people based on hair color and clothing. Please tell me that all the Wuthering Heights males have very different styles. Somewhat. Hair color, absolutely yes. That is actually hair color. Like, that was like a big section of my essay, was just talking about the symbolic importance of hair color in the book from a feminist lens. But outfits, dress-wise, I don't remember there being a lot of distinctive features. It tends to mostly go back to skin color and hair color and eye color, more so than dress. That I can remember, but again, it's been over 10 years since I read the book, so take that for what you will. There was an old Egyptian proverb that warned against changing women that the man fell in love with. I don't remember it now in quote, but it says, "You loved her dancing, so let her keep dancing." That is adorable, and I love it and true. That should actually be. That's like Egyptian happy wife, happy life. that's Egyptian happy wife, happy life. I love it. You keep doing that. Unironically believing that must be so painful for them, the people they inflict themselves on. Yeah, the topics are very loose. I keep a loose grasp on topics because I don't know where we're gonna end up. It's a very frenetic streaming experience most of the time. I talked about Pokemon, and then we talked about Evo Psych, and we're talking about Wuthering Heights. So it truly is a diverse experience here. Oh, and also Stardew Valley. We talked about Stardew Valley. Did Napoleon famously write his wife a letter telling her that he was on the way home and to not bathe? I have heard that explained both as him liking her to smell strongly, and I've also heard that as her being a flagrant cheater and wanting her to not bathe so that way he could tell whether or not she was like sleeping around before he got home. So I'm not sure which is true, especially because I imagine some authors did not always have an incentive to write of Napoleon particularly kindly, especially in the English language. So I'm not sure which of those are the more accurate explanation. I'm not really up to date on my Napoleon lore, but I have heard people say that at least. I'm being sarcastic about the getting internet responses. I do, like, survey research is important. It is a really good foundation. I cite it all the time. But it is funny to me how much of our understanding of humanity comes from asking a captured audience of undergrads at a university their experience and opinion about things and being like, this is generalizable to the whole population. Like, surely not, surely not. My mother tried to hit on a cousin of ours years and years ago, and she was like, what is wrong with you? I never talked to him again, and I can't blame her. Oh, yeah, I have known people. I have known people that have Inner Friday live stream. Oh my gosh, this is a long one, folks, so buckle up. This is our tale from Sean, the live stream correspondent. I love how Google includes an AI summary of absolutely fucking everything, so it's also have summarized your email. I'm not going to look at that. All right, so Sean says, for those of you who may remember from the last two live streams, I announced that the following Saturday was going to be Club Awakening's 10th anniversary party. For those who don't know, this party is a newbie tasting booth party, which, by the way, according to me, parenthetical here, is awesome. Love that they have a regular tasting party. That is a great thing to see in a local community. The highlight of the evening was Orpheus Black performing to open up the party. I won't go into detail about the performance other than there was some position work done without words, only signals, spanking, flogging, galley whips, as well as fire play and simultaneous forced orgasm. Oh, simultaneous. Oh, probably like happening like not them both having a forced orgasm, but like being, God, that is quite the variety. Wow, that is, I mean, I guess I expect nothing less from Orpheus, so, you know, good on him. The performance wrapped up with a demonstration of choking that appeared to me to be a blood choke. I had a blast at the party, as some of you might know if you have checked out my FetLife account. Since I was not working the party as a volunteer, I linked up with one of the practice bottoms to work on my fundamentals. We started out at flogging, where one of my favorites, Sir Taz, was topping. Sir Taz gave me a couple of pointers to make my strikes more uniform from both of my arms. The practice bottom stated that she noticed a difference since the last time I had practiced flogging with her. Our next stop was the hands-on booth, where I did some rough body play with her, including hair pulling, force slapping, scratching, and spanking. Her assessment was that my fundamentals, especially with hands-on, were spot on, and now that I just need to work on developing scenes in my head for when I play with someone at places other than tasting events. Because practice makes perfect, people. Practicing, feedback from bottoms, feedback from other tops. Get out there, practice your skills, learn from people who know more, and take that feedback on board, because that is the best way to learn other than just practicing on a pillow at home by yourself. From hands-on, we went to crops, canes, and paddles, where I used the number system even after the top for the booth, recommended against it, but because I had asked to, scratched myself with my fingernail. Stop, pleasant. I use a number system even after the top for the booth, recommended against it, but because I had asked to give me a baseline for her, and I was able to judge by her body language when I was reaching her limit and to stop, even when the top was encouraging me to go harder. When I asked her where she was after the top wanted me to increase the power, she said that I had stopped right about at her limit. That made me feel very good. The one thing I did not do with the practice bottom was any rope work, which would not have been possible since they were down a rope top. They normally have 2, as well as the surprise booth, which was sharp/edge play, which is not available during practice. With my topping done, I switched modes into bottom/submissive and went back to the booths. I started out at the flogging booth with Sir Taz and went away very happy. Next stop was hands-on for some spanking, rough body play, and face slapping. I didn't think I was in any type of subspace from flogging when I went into this booth, but the hands-on was very intense, especially with the rough body play. We concluded right after midnight rolled around that it was time for the raffle. I was sitting at the table waiting for the raffle, and halfway through the drawing, I noticed that I was shaking fairly badly. Recognizing drop right away, I grabbed some cookies and drank my water. Good on you, good at recognizing when you are reaching your limits. Have that water, grab some snacks, always a good plan. Please keep in mind that this is not typical for our tasting parties, as I am a regular, and the booth tops know me well as a heavy bottom, so they don't hold back. I went from intense flogging to intense hands-on and rough body play, back to back with no downtime. It was like I had a regular scene. Yes, doing multiple things back to back is going to increase how intense things are for your body, generally speaking. As a side note, there's a newbie orientation at every party for people who have never attended any type of party or tasting booth event, and one of the things we do cover is the possibility of drop and signs and things you want to do to treat that. We do not leave the newbies, at least the new ones who come in for the orientation, flapping in the wind with no idea of what might happen to them due to the chemicals and neurotransmitters that are released during any type of play they partake in or even just witness. My next stop was crops, canes, and paddles with another booth top who knew very well. I told him it had been quite a while since I had had any kind of marks other than from an extended scene, and I think he took that as a challenge. When I left the booth in the end, I had some mild-looking bruises, but definitely memorable for coming up on a week after the party. Thank you, Magnesium/MSM Arnica Cream. Yes, I am a big believer. You have heard me recommend this in videos or live streams before. What makes a big difference for me, especially for a convention where I'm doing a lot of rough body play, wrestling, thuddy impact play type scenes, is a lotion that has magnesium and MSM, which is essentially a topical bioavailable sulfur. I feel like it makes a difference. From what I understand, absorption rates for topical magnesium are maybe not as good as some of the earlier research I saw has suggested. But all I know is when I have done a convention or I've done a bunch of scenes over a long weekend, I have noticed a positive difference in my mobility and general lethargy after I have done a scene and then used a magnesium lotion on my body versus when I haven't. Like if I have just raw dogged that shit, and I, maybe do kind of more standard aftercare, like I take a bath or I cuddle or something, none of those things make as big of a difference in how my body feels compared to a magnesium and MSM, like cream or lotion or something. Just my own experience there. My last stop was the flogging booth again, as there was a new top for the, oh my god, you're still going. Let no booth go untouched. My last stop was the flogging booth again, as there was a new top for the second half of the party, and again I got a great flogging to wrap up the night. I made my rounds to say goodnight, and everyone got changed and went home. As usual, obligatory drop the next day, but nothing compared to what I experienced from my first public performance on Halloween. For anyone wanting information on either Club Awakening or Club Edge, which are both tasting booth parties, please send me a message on FetLife and I will get back to you. That is from Dernwin, once again, there in the chat if you would like their username. As a second side note from another of Evie's live streams that included Aftercare, all tops got hugs and thanks at the end of our time at the booth, as I do every party, which is very nice to include. Also, since Evie was talking about getting tattooed, I posted all of my tattoos in the selfie section on the Discord for Patreon. Those in the live stream who don't have access to it and would like to see them, let me know and I will make an album and post them on my FetLife account so you can see them for free. Anyways, live stream correspondent Sean signing off. And thank you for the story, Sean. We love hearing about tasting booth experiences. I will say, especially if you are a new person, this is very much an advanced approach to tasting booth parties. If you are brand new, I'd recommend trying one thing, giving yourself maybe an hour or so to decompress, and then maybe trying another. Don't rush. Don't do everything all in one weekend. The idea is, if it's a regular party, go around, try something new every week, every month. And then as you get more comfortable, you can do more experiences and more things. But I think if you don't know what you like yet, if you don't know how your body handles stuff, Keep it slow, keep it easy, and your body will thank you, and you won't have to deal with as intense drop as you might compared to doing like 50 different things all in 1 week. So that's that on that. Again, thank you, Sean. And sorry, banged my glass, and there you go. Hi, sweetie pie, what are you doing? Oh, it's the big yawn. Ooh. Yeah. Hi, sweet girl. Hi, sweet girl. I know I made a noise, didn't I? I did make a noise, huh? Oh, sweet angel baby. Sweet angel girl. Alright, anyways, dog distractions. Okay. Survey research and such. Okay, I'm gonna go back to where I was in the chat. Cool. I gave a poster presentation at a conference today about communication, competence, and non-monogamy. Also, hi, finally caught you live again. That's super exciting. Hope your presentation went well. You're the one who asked the other week about poster presentations at Kink conferences. I got a question about that the other week, so it's funny if it's not you that came up twice in a row, because I haven't heard that before. I don't even know what it would be like to have 100 first cousins. That sounds... no thanks. I'm gonna say no to that one. Yeah, lots of band content coming up, unfortunately, I think, in the future. Yeah, Woody Allen's a piece of work would be putting it mildly, I think. All the best research is weird. You gotta ask weird questions to get weird, interesting answers, I think. Oh, is it getting modded because you're mentioning Epstein? That's super weird. I definitely do not have anything related to Epstein blocked or censored on my channel, like from my end as a content creator. So that might be YouTube, that's really weird. If so, that's definitely not me, because I obviously talk about Epstein in my own content. So. Yeah, Bandita's cute. All right, I am going to toggle over to the questions in the question box. And thank you all so much to everyone who has given super chats or asked questions so far. Again, if you'd like to make sure I answer your question, please put it in the chat box above. That will make sure I will see your question. If you put it in the regular chat, I can't promise that I will see it. This basically preserves it in Amber, and I will definitely be able to catch it. Or you can use a super chat with Streamlabs, or you can go through YouTube, and it will highlight your question on stream, and I will see it right away. But with that being said, first question here says, I'm a dominant who is into pet play, and I'm trying to figure out more things I can do outside of like service and worship. In the perspective of a pet, any ideas would be helpful. Oh my gosh. Okay, so earlier today, actually before I forget, I'm going to put that in my idea list for my like video ideas, which is somewhere on my phone. I was just brainstorming earlier today about like alternative / advanced pet play ideas. And let me see. I'm gonna say like advanced pet play ideas. And then maybe we'll figure out like how to frame that like later when I get into making it. So you want to be, so dominant into pet play, trying to figure out things I can do outside of service and worship. So please let me know if I'm wrong about this. I'm interpreting this as you are a dominant who also wants to be a pet. Like, you're a dom and you also identify as a pet. I guess it could also be the other way, and you're a dominant who likes it when your partner is their pet, so you're into pet play from that perspective. So I'm going to answer this as generally as I can. But yes, you got it. Okay, cool. So, great. Dominant who's into being a pet. Awesome. So service and worship, both really good categories for that. So I think that leans more into the nurturing side of things. I think you can lean into this in a sadistic direction or in a rough body play, take down and capture way. Like, I don't know what kind of pet you play as, but you can apply this example for multiple different pets. But I think about like breaking a horse. Like, until the horse is broken, the horse is the one in control of that fucking experience. Like, I don't know if this is just me, but I definitely watched Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron a lot on VHS tape when I was a kid. And you can have your partner be like a human or possibly another pet and having like sort of a bucking bronco horse fighting back, kicking, biting, making it really, really hard for you to be overcome. And maybe in the end, you like don't get broken and you just like fuck your partner shit up because the horses are really strong. And then you can do the same thing with maybe less so for like if you identify as like a cat, but also if you're like a lion or a tiger or something, then that's like, play with this still, but I'm thinking like house cat size. But if you're more of like a puppy or a wolf or wolf and pony is actually really fun. Okay, perfect, great. Pony play, like bucking bronco stuff, great idea for that. For a wolf, I think similar idea, but like, a hunter that is trying to like capture a wolf, but then the wolf like is able to like escape from the trap and doing like a role reversal scene where like originally maybe you're captured and then you like escape, or having it almost be, I've seen people do this who are into bottoming for bondage who are tops, but the idea is like, all right, your job is to tie me down or to put me in this thing. But if I escape, I'm going to beat your ass. So make sure it's good. Same kind of principle, but starting from a place of being pinned or being trapped or being caged, and then either intentionally allowing you to escape or giving you the challenge to be able to escape. And if you do, then taking your partner down and having like a rough body play, wrestling, biting, slapping kind of contest of wills sort of energy for being able to play more with sadism there. This is definitely getting into like, what's the line between primal play and pet play and animal role play? It's very fuzzy in this region, but I think it has to do more with the headspace you're going into it with versus anything else. So playing with ideas around that area would probably be my main suggestion if you're trying to get as far away as possible from things like service submission or just providing service topping, and body worship. But I'll think about it, and if it comes up in a future video, I'll let you know if I have any further ideas in that regard. Actually, sort of think about like sort of like herding type stuff, maybe like trying to do like kind of a aggressive guardian dog sort of thing, maybe. I don't know. I don't have a full picture of what that would look like, but that maybe could be a point of inspiration. To be honest, my real life experience with horses has ruined horsing around as a form of pet play. Horses break down in astonishingly numerous ways and get scared lost by everything. I guess I'm talking about like, I don't know, they are prey animals, so there's sort of like they do get scared by snakes or like things that are snake shaped. Or just branches. Like, I also have ridden horses, so I know what you mean. But I mean in the sense that, like, for example, like zebras. Zebras also an equine. Also scared by things. Also, first response is to completely beat your ass ASAP. And, like, being fucking aggressive about it. Like, zebras will fuck your shit up. Like, are they scared? Yes. Will they fuck your shit up? Also yes. So, like, they have to have defense mechanisms against predators, and horses and zebras will absolutely break jaws if they aim correctly. So, I've also been learning house cat in terms of laying there and just being pleased, so I want to have a way more active role. Yeah, I guess I don't know how you would do that. I don't know enough about cats. I'm probably not the right person to ask about cat-related things, because that's definitely not my kink, but maybe other people have ideas for that. I fed a horse a carrot. Have to be careful what you feed them. Yeah, horses, gotta be careful about what you feed them. Also be careful of their teeth. Be careful with pigs. If you're feeding pigs, they will eat your hand and not notice. We did try to domesticate zebras for about a century. We gave up. They're mean. Yeah, maybe lean into the zebra aspect a little bit. Maybe be more like a zebra or a donkey, even like a burro. I think those could be fun to play with too, because they're also very strong-willed. I think probably something in that wheelhouse might be a little bit more dominant than like a horse, but I guess it depends. Same with moose, though it's anyone's, I don't know if anyone who plays with pet plays with them as a moose. You know, I've never met anyone who identifies as a moose. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I've definitely met deer. I've definitely met other, like, ruminants, I guess. I don't know if are moose ruminants? They probably are. Now I'm going to check. I'm going to check if Scrapyard Leather has made a hood of there's donkey and there's horses. I guess maybe they'd probably be in the horse category if they were a moose, or maybe, let's see, god, they have so many. They have everything you could possibly think of. I mean, somebody has a moose as a fursona, right? So like if somebody has it as a fursona, somebody's probably doing pet play as it. Mythical creature. I mean, not that they're mythical creatures. I mean, kinda. What did an Englishman think the first time he saw a fucking moose? That had to be intense. Oh yeah, enclosed forest chased. Also a good one. No, I don't see any moose stuff. So no, moose might be an untapped potential animal roleplay inspiration. I mean, I've seen cows, I've seen bull, I've seen deer. I have not seen an elk, and I've not seen a moose. There is some truly bizarre moose paraphernalia on the internet. You can get a Build-A-Bear moose hoodie for a Build-A-Bear. So that's about as close as I can get on that one. Oh, Shetland pony. Shetland pony would be adorable. I love a Shetland pony. Yes, you never know what you're going to get when you walk into one of my live streams. You were talking about first cousin marriages and Wuthering Heights earlier, so... related conversations, actually, if you know anything about Wuthering Heights. Interesting stuff. All right. Funny side note, there's a cheese here, and the ad campaign had an anthropomorphic moose in flannels. I mean, that's not shocking. That's not shocking. Sea turtle roleplay, just scraping off barnacles to increase intimacy. I mean, people like back scratches, don't they? You joke? I could make a scene idea out of that. Back scratching, exfoliation. Don't threaten me with a good time. Who doesn't love that? All right. I just saw the new Scream 7 movie, and my boyfriend had the remote control to play with me during the film. I've been trying to be less bratty and more submissive to my boyfriend. So what are your thoughts on that? I'm not personally a vibrator in public kind of person. I'm not somebody who thinks that's generally a great idea, but... you know, you do you. If you've been trying to be less bratty and more submissive to your boyfriend, what are your thoughts on that? Like how to be less bratty and more submissive? Okay, if I'm giving an honest answer to this question, I feel like the way to do this is to focus on what would make your partner happy in the moment, and like recognizing when you have impulses to be bratty. Like, actually, this is what I would do. No joke. Okay. If theoretically I was a brat, which I'm not, I don't do bratty stuff. But if I was a brat, what I would do is, if I wanted to work on that, I would recognize those moments where I feel bratty. And then before I do anything, I would go, stop, brain, stop, don't do. The gremlins in my brain, the goblins in my brain are saying, I need to put stickers on this, but I'm not going to do it. And I would say, sir, I want to let you know that I'm feeling bratty right now, but I'm not going to act on it. And then give them the opportunity to positively reinforce you for not being bratty and choosing to pause and resist the urge to do the bratty thing. You can recognize it. You can say, that would be fun. That sounds interesting. You can even say, if you have more information and insight into why you feel bratty, you can even add on, sir, I'm feeling bratty, but I'm not going to act on the urge. And the reason why I think I feel bratty is because I've been stressed out. I miss you. I want your attention. I'm bored. I'm fill in the blank with your reason for why that is. And then they can tell you, thank you for letting me know. I really am so proud of you for being so obedient and being such a good girl. If you would like to serve me instead, here's what you can do. And then try to have the option for the other behavior that's not bratty be something that's related to why you felt the bratty urge in the first place, to essentially what I'm suggesting you do is I'm trying to help you find a way to give your brain alternatives to the brat urge. If you think or you've learned that being bratty gets certain needs met and you don't know what else to do to get that need met, giving your brain other things to do is going to make it way easier to be less bratty over time. So if you tend to brat because you're bored and you want attention, what your partner can do instead is say, hey, here's a thing that you can do where I will give you attention, or I'll keep your brain occupied by doing something. So if you'd like to serve me and not be bratty, you can come lay by my feet and I'll pet you. Or, I'll watch you while you make us dinner or make us a snack. We can be on video chat together. You can read this thing for me and write a summary for me, depending on what you like and you find rewarding and motivating. So, legitimately, if you actually really want to be less bratty, that would probably be what I would do. And I'm glad you asked, because actually that is probably... Do I have a video about this? I don't know if I want to put this in a video or put this in a class or something. But submissive training, positive reinforcement, and learning to not be bratty with... Learning to not be bratty with alternatives and resisting action urges / opposite action. Maybe I should just talk about learning how to be becoming a more obedient submissive. Becoming a more obedient submissive. Maybe I'll just call it obedience training. Maybe that's what I'll call it, as opposed to... Yeah, that's what I'm gonna call it. There we go. Oh, wait. Wow. I'll expand more on ideas with that, probably in a later video. But there you go. That's my thought on that. Scream Movie 7. I've heard that's a really bad movie, so I'm glad you had something else to entertain you, is what I would say for that. But those are my thoughts on how to be less bratty and more submissive. And then I think the process of that is really just choosing to be more submissive and not following what your typical urges are. Yeah. how to beat a brat into submission. Well, if they like pain play, you're probably not going to be able to do that, is the actual answer. Absurd leaps in logic are standard for moral panic nuts. That's true. That's true. To be honest, I think becoming more obedient is a common fantasy for submissive, so it's a good topic. I think it is. And I think it's a good skill to have, even if you typically play with other kinks. Like, if you are typically more of a brat, or you, like, you know, if you play with bratty stuff or disobedience, I think knowing how to turn that off, and because I think where brats struggle is if they want to have more complicated relationships, it's helpful to know how to not just only ever brat. Like, if you have brat, it's like, you guys know the meme, it's like lizard, 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 lizard. Like, it's like that, but for brats, like brat, 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 brat. Like, every default response becomes bratting in some way. Sometimes you don't want to do that and you want to have alternatives. I appreciate you incorporate DBT into everything. Caught the opposite action line. Yeah, I know. Listen, some ideas are just really fundamental, and I don't just do DBT. Like, DBT is part of it. There's some ACT stuff in there. There's attachment theory stuff in there. There's like trauma and like vagal nervous system tolerance stuff in there. Like, there's a set of things, and I'm super excited. My brain's like very like buzzy and excited about working on some things I've had going in the background related to like power exchange and sustainable relationships and interesting dynamics. And I'm super stoked to hopefully have those be more of a thing in the future. And I think I'm probably going to make them into like class content and not videos, simply because it's like way too in depth for YouTube stuff, and I want it to be more of a dialogue. But look out for that in the future. It's going to be happening. Do you have any knowledge about using staplers in kink? Surprisingly, Irina, I do. So I have never used staplers in kink. I don't think okay, so there's staple guns, and then there are medical staples. I have not used medical staples in a kink scene before. I have wanted to. I have the equipment to do it. I have done similar things before, but I haven't actually done it yet. So maybe at some time in the future, I will get back to you all, and I will be able to tell you guys, hey, this is what it's like to do medical staples. But I don't know. I imagine it's similar to needles. So people will definitely do medical staples. And when people do medical staples, it's sometimes for the sensation. I would say more commonly medical staples are used for decorative kink purposes. So doing medical staples and then a ribbon corset tie on somebody's back. Super popular kink. Or for breasts or for a butt. I've seen people do it, I think, on a scrotum. I've definitely seen people use medical staples on a scrotum. I'm not sure about the corset part. I also have seen people do very interesting things involving a scrotum and medical staples that I won't describe for the sake of people who have scrotums and are not into CBT in our audience. But you can probably imagine. If you're into it, you're into it. If you're not, you're not. That's all I'll say about that. So definitely medical staples for decorative things. I've also seen people do decorative medical staples for like chainmail pieces or scale pieces to create like temporary armor or like dragon scales and things like that. So more decorative. I have not personally witnessed, but I do know of people who will use nail gun string scenes or staple gun string scenes. I think ethically, as an educator, I probably can't recommend that because it does seem like it's pretty high risk. Usually people have done it in a fear play way where they will use the staple gun on like a piece of wood next to somebody's head to get a reaction out of them. But I'm also pretty sure I know of people that have used actual staple guns on flesh. And I'm not saying you should do that, but people have. If you have an interest in staples, I'd really recommend just using a medical stapler because they're meant to be used on skin and you can remove them and they have a built-in remover. So there you go. My partner gives mixed signals about switching roles. I once enjoyed an unexpected session where I had control, and she's mentioned wanting me to be more sadistic and take control, but other times she implies she doesn't want to switch. Since she enjoys consensual non-consent dynamics, I'm feeling confused about what she actually wants. So here's my perspective on that. Some people are okay with ambiguity, and I am not one of those people, especially with consensual non-consent. And my line is, if you can't describe to me what you want and when you want it, we can't have a relationship, we can't play. I have to have it be very clear what you want, why you're motivated to do things, what scenes we're doing when. Surprise is okay, but I have to understand the contours of the potential surprise before it happens. Like, I don't want to wake up and find out that you've like cut off my hair because you have a hair cutting kink. Or I don't want to be surprised that I did something that I thought you wanted because you said you wanted it, and then later it turns out that you didn't really want it, and then you gave me mixed signals and I thought you were saying you wanted something, and then turns out you really didn't want it. You were just spitballing random ideas and you weren't that into it. I don't want ambiguity. I don't want guesswork. I don't want that. So what I would say, especially because it does seem to make you uncomfortable, I would revisit the subject and I would say, hey, I know we've talked about doing this thing before. I want to check in before we do more of it. Can you tell me more about why you're into that? And do you actually really want that? And then how do I know when you want to do that kind of thing? It's about having not necessarily requirements for them, but boundaries with yourself around like, hey, I don't feel comfortable doing this thing, and actually it would be passing one of my own boundaries with myself to do this kind of play without knowing why I'm doing it and when it's okay and when it's not okay and like to what level. So I think if you're dealing with ambiguity, it's not comfortable for you, like don't deal with that. Like, especially if you're playing with CNC at all, you can only have the C of CNC if you've talked about it and if you've negotiated, in my opinion. Yeah, you need to have clear communication before the actual event. And if they resist and they're like, well, I don't know, I don't really know what I want, you should just be able to guess, you should just be able to tell, I feel like that's bullshit. That's like a really risky way of playing with kink, and that might be okay for them. They might be fine with the elevated level of risk, and some people are going to be okay playing with that, but if you're not, you're not, and that's your line, that's your boundary. Yep, I read the story from Sean already. Yes, if we have 15 minutes left, so if you have not asked your question yet or haven't gotten to your question yet, please either re-ask it or put it in the questions box. I actually need to go to the restroom really quick, so I'm going to take care of that. I'm going to go over to the BRB screen real quick, and then we will do the rest of our Q&A. All right, be right back. All right, I'm back. All right, hello everybody. Let's get into the last little bit of the stream. Oh, my chat has apparently deleted itself. Okay. All right. Getting back to the questions box. Again, if you want to make sure I answer your question, now is a great time to use a super chat or you can put it in the questions box. I can't promise I'm going to get to everything, but I will try my best to do so. Yeah. Question about healing. Just got out of a few-year DS relationship. Helped and healed the sub, then she fell out subspace and didn't need / want a dom anymore. Any advice? Hesitant now to attach again. Okay, so wait. You're the dominant, you had a submissive, then the submissive decided they didn't want a dom anymore, and then now you're reluctant to attach to somebody again because that might happen again? So I'm of the perspective that there's always a risk when you form a new relationship. There is always risk that it won't work out, that eventually you'll go separate ways and not talk to each other again, and you'll lose that attachment and connection. And it's that risk and that vulnerability in the process of getting to know someone that makes those relationships rewarding. And I totally understand the fear of not wanting to have that happen again. But that is the risk of getting to experience something really wonderful like that. And I think rather than focusing on the fear of the relationship being lost in the future, it's about finding happiness in the now and focusing on the positives of having an attachment with someone and not making promises to yourself that this is going to be forever or that this is going to be the perfect person for you, but instead framing it like, I'm going to have fun for this relationship for as long as it naturally lasts for, and I want to leave that relationship without having any regrets or wishing I did something differently. So I'm going to give it my all, but I'm not going to assume that it's going to be around forever. I think maybe that kind of perspective might be more helpful, but also at the same time, don't push yourself to be ready for a relationship before you're actually really ready. Like if you are really scared of losing someone, like maybe you aren't fully over it yet, and that's okay. Like it can take a long time, especially after our first really important DS relationship, and it was around for years and years, to like feel okay going there again. It's also okay to explore kink on like a lower level, like maybe doing relationships or doing dynamics that are a little bit more like part-time, or doing pickup play or something, just to get your feet wet and try something different that's not as big of a commitment, and then maybe see if that helps you gain some confidence. It was great, but didn't think doing everything right would still doom it. I don't regret it at all. I mean, I think it's even in the phrasing of like doing everything right would still doom it. That makes it sound like I did everything right, so therefore this relationship should still work out. And maybe if you haven't watched my video on like coping with BDSM breakups, maybe you should listen to this, because when you have healthy adult relationships, if they're really healthy, you can do everything right by the book and still not have them work out. And it's not your fault. It doesn't mean that you did anything wrong. It doesn't mean that it was doomed. Humans grow apart. Humans have other priorities in their life. And you might be compatible, you might be good partners. It might not be like a toxic, abusive relationship that has to end because everyone's upset at each other all the time or people are fighting all the time. It might end because they need to prioritize something else in their life, or they need to move on from kink because of job changes, or they're moving. And it really sucks to lose those relationships, I think even more because you can't point and say, well, they weren't a good submissive, or we weren't compatible with each other, or something like that. But you didn't do anything to doom their relationship, and doing everything perfectly doesn't mean the relationship is going to last forever. I think if you want a forever relationship, saying that up front is probably important. Like if what you are looking for is only lifetime relationships where you want a life partner, pursuing relationships with other people who also want that is going to be important, especially if you're not going to maybe switch to framing it as I'm going to enjoy this as much as it lasts. But like, definitely you are not helping yourself by thinking about it in like, I fucked it up and I doomed it, even though I did everything perfectly. Like, the reward for doing everything perfectly is not a lifetime relationship. It's having a good connection while that connection lasts. You know what I mean? Also, not everyone is a brat, so I'm not even gonna get into that. Anyways, hopefully that helps. All right, next question. Oh my goodness, we got all kinds of questions. I'm gonna do my best here. I'm 100% submissive, but people often mistake me for a dom because I'm very confident socially. What's that about? Well, I wish I could tell you, because I certainly have enough people on the internet who mistake me for a dom or little or a brat or like 10 other things, and none of them are ever things that I actually am, so I get it. I would imagine, especially if you present as femme, they think confident woman equal dominant, wallflower doormat woman equals submissive, and it's just shitty gendered sexist expectations, unfortunately, I have to tell you. It's a simple answer, but it's complicated, pervasive, psychological, social issue. It's not really any clear answer for, unfortunately. Yeah, relationships are chapters. Just because a chapter ended doesn't mean it wasn't a good read. Yeah, exactly. And like, I have people in my life that have very long-term relationships with people where their relationship has changed drastically over the years and decades, and that person may or may not still be in their life, but they were able to be flexible and adaptable and create something that worked better for them in the long term. Even if that meant no longer talking to each other. And they might come in and out of each other's lives, but it's a very flexible thing. I think flexibility with relationships can oftentimes make them more resilient. Can you add gentle dom to vampire roleplay? And can you add things like skincare, massage, or stretching service into vampire play? Yeah, of course you can. You just gotta do it with the right roleplay flavor. You can add, just in general, just to say it, you can basically combine any flavor of anything into anything. You can do gentle dom in bratting. You can do gentle dom in pet play. You can do gentle dom in vampire role play. It might be niche. It might not be the most common approach, but you can definitely do it for sure. So don't even worry about that. It is definitely possible. One of my play partners has expressed an interest in being a dragon for pet play. Any ideas of the kind of play we could get into? Ooh, that's a really good one. I briefly knew someone who was a dragon and did pet play, and they were a dragon and they were the dom, and then their partner was a fox, I want to say, and they were submissive. So I don't know if this dragon is a dom or a bottom, or how they identify in a DS, sense, or in a play sense. I'm gonna assume that they're a D type. But dragon roleplay makes me think. So, first of all, I like silly, wacky stuff for scene ideas, so you're gonna deal with that. Roleplay idea number one. Capture the flag with dragon gold. So dragon is defending a very precious object, and you are trying to get to it, and they can fuck you up in the course of you attempting to retrieve the thing. So I think that's a fun idea. I think that could be a fun thing to do as a top, as a bottom. Just some good old-fashioned roughhousing type play. I think fire play is a fun one, especially something like maybe like a fire wand or fire fleshing could be a fun one to play with. Of course, that requires a level of specialized skill that not everyone has or can learn very easily, but there you go. Yeah, we have great mods. I love our mods. Thank you, Carol, for the donation. Thank you very much. All right, so other dragon ideas for scenes, definitely fire play, definitely like protecting your wealthy dragon horde and then having to play keep away, sort of Hobbit inspired, I suppose, on that front. I feel like something involving like, I don't know, like I'm picturing a like Beowulf type scenario. Like, again, more of a takedown and capture, rough body play, biting, scratching, wrestling kind of vibe with the dragon. Especially with like biting, I feel like it's potentially interesting for a dragon. Or Like a damsel in distress scenario, maybe. Anyways, broad sketches of some ideas that I have. I'm gonna get to one more question. I missed the last line of your story. I did? Are you sure about that? Or possibly I didn't read it on purpose. I'll double check. I don't. Oh, P.S. Always drink your water. Yes, I didn't read the P.S. Yeah, drink water. I'm out of water actually. So, actually, no, I have a little bit left. My throat's dry anyways. But yeah, definitely drink water. Okay, who's gonna be the last question of the day today? I answered the healing question. Let me see here. Oh. Looking for a question. I thought I just saw one. Where did it go? Medical staple guns are not terribly expensive, but IMO needles are better in every regard. I'm a fan of needles. Evie should record a random. Your call is important to us. Please stay on hold when the music loops. That actually is super funny, and I might do that. That's a good idea. I like that. Just a recommendation for those who want to use a regular staple gun. Use the shortest staples you can find and pre-soak them in 70% alcohol and air dry before use. Yeah, definitely, if you're interested in that, please take a class on it. I know somebody will teach about it eventually. It's worth it. If you want to do really advanced high-risk play, it is worth it to wait and get education from somebody who has experience doing it first. Let yourself learn from their mistakes before you repeat their mistakes. I love how Evie has authentic hold time music on her weight screen. Yeah, hell yeah. That was on purpose. I did that intentionally. I've done a lot of performance stuff with staple guns, but I heal really well. Yeah, it's you gotta know your skin for that one for sure. Have you read about functional analytic psychotherapy? It's like psychoanalysis inspired therapy, but within a behavioral therapy approach. I have not heard of that specifically, but that doesn't mean I haven't come across something from that. But no, I'm not familiar with functional analytical psychotherapy. I'm gonna Google it though, just to see if you're pulling my leg. Oh no, it's a thing. All right, Society of Advancement of Psychotherapy. There's a contextual behavioral relational approach to psychotherapy. Focus on what happens in session between client and therapist. Oh, okay. That makes sense. No, not familiar with it. Interesting though, very interesting. All right, on that note, no, I'm sorry, I didn't have time to get to every question. I'm sorry, Rebecca. You can always re-ask it on the Tuesday live stream if you want, and I will probably have time to get to it there. But no, I gotta go. I'm hungry. Doggo's hungry. Time to feed the puppies. So I will see you all later. I will see you all hopefully on Monday. We are currently playing Dispatch over on Twitch if you'd like to join us. We also have Tuesday streams on Patreon if you'd like to join us for that. Thank you all so much for your wonderful questions, stories, and insight. I always appreciate it. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. Wear your sunscreen. Drink your water. And I will see you all again very soon. Bye. Yeah, I know. So you were done with this stream, huh? Hi, sweetie. Oh, good stretch, honey. Good stretch. Woo! All right.